A court blocks provincial legislation to deny gender-affirming care for teens.
We now have confirmation from a court that it was ill-advised, and I think that the government should take that very seriously.
Advocates say it's a human rights victory. Calls for caution on the water.
We don't want to see any tragedies. We've had enough in the past.
As rescue teams prepare for their busy season. And small but mighty.
I think I can do really well.
A Calgary kid aims even higher after winning the top spot in a World Ninja competition.
CTV Calgary, local breaking news with Alicia Fieldberg.
Hello and thank you for joining us. An Alberta court has granted an injunction preventing the province from banning gender-affirming care for minors. It blocks Bill 26, new Alberta legislation that would restrict access to gender-affirming hormone therapy for people under the age of 16. The ban had not yet started and now legally can't, which means Alberta youth using puberty blockers and hormone therapy can continue. The court concluded that Bill 26 would cause irreparable harm to gender-diverse young people in Alberta. It added that barring medical care for gender-diverse young people would reinforce the discrimination and prejudice that they are already subjected to. People opposed to the legislation say this is a victory for trans youth, but also for human rights.
I think that we should all be concerned, no matter of the subject matter of the healthcare, but when the government is taking the place of doctors using their best medical judgment and parents using their best parental judgment to decide what's best for the young person.
The province says Alberta's government will continue to vigorously defend our position in court and is considering all options with respect to the court's decision. Alberta's NDP supports the injunction, saying the UCP government needs to commit to providing all youth with the care and respect they deserve. Alberta's government is posting a massive surplus for the last fiscal year, a number a lot higher than expected. While today's fiscal update shows a strong balance sheet, global uncertainty lingers. Mark Villani reports.
The cash is rolling in for Alberta, and the numbers are staggering. An $8.3 billion surplus for the last fiscal year, $8 billion more than projected.
Largely due to higher than expected revenue from energy resources, personal and corporate income taxes, and investment income.
Total revenue skyrocketed to $82.5 billion. Much of that came from the oil patch, where bitumen production soared. Drilling went up 4.4%, and crude production rose to almost 4 million barrels per day.
Trans Mountain Pipeline, now having been open for a little bit over a year, that's really helped lower the differential that Canadian producers receive for their crude.
But spending was also up, a total of $74.1 billion last year, most of it on health, education, and disaster relief. The surplus now comes as the province faces significant uncertainty, including geopolitical tensions in the Middle East and U.S. President Donald Trump announcing trade deals with Canada are off.
Investors are not going to invest. We're not going to create, more jobs and be all that we can be with this hanging over our heads.
All talks are off until we don't know when. That's what makes me the most fearful.
Meanwhile, Alberta is still seeing steady population growth, 200,000 more people last year alone. It means industries like construction are booming, but unemployment remains high.
And employers are becoming a little bit more cautious in their hiring. So we do expect that unemployment rate to be elevated this year before coming down gradually next year.
If there's going to be, protectionist policies globally, there's just so much uncertainty. And so businesses aren't investing.
And with deficits projected for the next 3 years, this finance minister has his hands full.
We must be prepared to weather the storm.
Mark Villani, CTV News, Calgary.
People are leaving condolences at the site of a fire that claimed the lives of a 9-year-old girl and her father. Along with notes, they're leaving stuffed animals and flowers. Firefighters were called to a Taradale home early yesterday morning and found flames engulfing the first and second floors. The body of 50-year-old Sonny Gill was found in the home. His daughter, Hargoon Gill, was rushed to hospital where she later died. 2 adults escaped from the basement, and firefighters rescued an adult and teenager who were stranded on a roof section. The cause is still under investigation, but is not considered suspicious. There's another health advisory about measles exposure at the airport as measles numbers continue to climb in our province. Another 17 cases are reported, including one in Calgary, bringing the province-wide total to 1,122. More than 900 of those cases have come in the past 2 months. A new advisory says an infectious person flew into Calgary Airport from Cancun on June 22nd. That's in addition to another infectious traveler who went through the airport Wednesday morning. Here's what some air travelers have to say.
I think our area is actually one of the places where there's less vaccines, where we live, north of Brooks and Tabor area. I just wish that people would realize that it was one of the deadliest child killers before we had the vaccine.
I know other people are worried about the vaccines, but it's been around, I don't know how many years, hundreds of years, I thought. But so I think it's pretty safe, and I'd like to see that happen so people don't get sick.
As of last week, more than 85% of people with confirmed measles cases in the province were not immunized. This weekend kicks off the busiest time of year for aquatic rescues in our city. Officials want anyone floating the bow or elbow to be extra cautious, wear a life jacket, and don't drink or smoke cannabis. Stephanie Thomas has more.
As July approaches, the Calgary Fire Department Water Rescue Team is expecting a busy month ahead. Since 2016, there's an average of 52 water rescues every July.
It's not top of mind for a lot of people, and so that's why every year we want to remind folks about the dangers.
Aquatic safety experts say the Bow and Elbow rivers, even during summer heat, can see flow and temperature variations very quickly.
So there's inherent risk to all different parts of the river.
He says the busiest stretch of the Bow River begins at the Shoaldice boat launch through to Harvey Passage in Inglewood, especially where there are bridge crossings.
What we see is people get into trouble by getting pushed by the current against any of the bridge pillars.
The risks on the water are high. Since 2016, there have been 29 fatalities. Last July, there were 4 deaths on the water, higher than the average. Wearing a life jacket is not only life-saving, it's the law.
Make sure the straps are tight.
Failure to wear one could result in a $500 fine. Calgary police say booze and cannabis should only be consumed when it's safe and legal on dry land.
We don't want to see any tragedies. We've had enough in the past.
There will be an increased presence of police and peace officers along the shoreline, not just for enforcement, but for education.
We want you to have fun on the waterways, but we want it to be safe, and we want you to get home at the end of the day.
Emergency officials recommend having a plan and being prepared. Stephanie Thomas, CTV News, Calgary.
Danielle, we've had a lot of active weather lately, and that's likely to continue at least tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's another unstable day. Now, we'll still get a good chunk of sunshine. In fact, more sunshine is expected for the morning hours tomorrow compared to what we had today. So, bright morning, a quiet morning, mainly sunny, but by 1 in the afternoon, we get into the risk of showers and thunderstorms once again. Also, a key thing for tomorrow, just a high of 19, so a little cooler than our high of 23 we had today. After this, though, after tomorrow, we get into a stretch of dry, sunny, stable, hot weather. I'll show you that coming up.
Thanks, Danielle. There's a new art installation along the Riverwalk in East Village. What sustains us is the work of Calgary artist Alex Kwong. He says it's based on stories people told him about their personal relationships to the Bow and Elbow rivers. A Blackfoot elder and a Calgary fly fisher are some of the people featured. Kwong says the experience was made even richer by the conversations he had with people passing by while he was painting.
This is impacting their visual landscape, and so you want them to kind of feel as involved as possible and be able to enjoy it every day. And it's like that little bit of impact that I can make on someone's day, might make a bigger impact down the road.
And you'll find the art along the Riverwalk. It will remain there for 3 years. After that, a jury of community volunteers will select another local artist to feature. Well, the prairie dog population booms this time of year, and their holes can make a mess. But the way one neighborhood got rid of the rodents has a resident concerned about safety.
You're watching CTV News, Calgary.
The use of gopher poison in the southeast neighborhood of Ogden has an area resident speaking out. She's concerned about the secondhand danger it poses to people and wildlife. Jacqueline Wilson reports.
For dog walker Lindsay Bayco, Beaver Dam Flats is a slice of paradise.
There's tons of wildlife in here. Like, I love going down there watching birds and all that kind of stuff. I've seen so many different animals. We even have like bobcats in the area.
She's avoided the park since learning about a potential danger.
In the community group, people started posting about how there is these poison traps that have been set out, and that they're seeing more gophers that are slow, and like they're like, what's wrong with these gophers? What's going on? And everyone's like, well, unfortunately, they've been poisoned.
Calgary Pest Control declined an interview, but says it was contracted by the Riverside Gate Condo Board to address the gopher problem. The company says it used a Health Canada approved product called Rosal RTU to code on June 20th, stayed within the private fenced area, put up warning signage, and is removing dead gophers on the property.
Other predators eat gophers. So for instance, you have a hawk that eats a gopher that is poisoned, and then all of a sudden that hawk gets sick, and who says that that hawk doesn't fly to your backyard and isn't in your backyard and then dies in your backyard, and your dog goes out there and sees a dead bird, and by prey nature they're going to go for it.
The rodenticides that are used in most cases are relatively safe in small quantities, like if your dog gets into them or something, but animals that eat multiple poisoned rodents are going to be severely affected.
Johnson says there are more humane ways to deal with gophers, especially for homes.
What we can do is install a wire mesh barrier underground.
In a statement, Calred says the bait stations were stolen June 24th and 25th, and because of the recent interference in public attention, further baiting is paused. The city says it doesn't comment on gopher control that's outside city property. Jacqueline Wilson, CTV News, Calgary.
CTV News has reached out to the Riverside Gate Condo Board for comment, but we have not heard back. Time magazine has listed Edmonton-based company Stantec among the world's most sustainable companies. Stantec ranked 44 on the list, the best showing for a Canadian company this year. Time partnered with Statista to rank the top 500 sustainable companies based on public commitment as well as progress. The company was founded in Edmonton in the 1950s and has been involved in major projects like the Keystone Pipeline. Only 2 other Canadian companies made the top 100. A new sensory program at Calgary's Immigrant Education Society offers tools for kids to play with and learn from. It also helps identify children with developmental issues and get them the care they need sooner. Kevin Fleming reports.
Adesua is 4 years old, and she and the other students at the Little Beginnings Urban Oasis Child Care Center are learning without even knowing it. Their class is filled with sensory items they can play with anytime. Adesua's mom says she's noticed her daughter thrive in this environment.
I can confidently say right now she is ready for kindergarten, because when I look at the Alberta curriculum, she knows everything that is expected of her already.
Regda Abouifetwa says the sensory project is a result of her brainstorming with all the educators at the center. She says it has the potential to help every child enrolled here.
Every children have, and even adults, have different learning abilities, different skills. So if you work in advance, you will be most probably preventing challenging behaviors to occur in the school-age children. So you are setting them for success.
She says that after the sensory project was put in place in March, they've seen an 80% drop in challenging behavior from the children, and they're learning to express themselves verbally rather than lashing out.
A couple of parents, especially in the preschool room, they were sharing that their children now are speaking way more, are very expressive. I'm like, here we go. We're so happy with that.
Educators can gauge the energy of the kids and match it to the sensory activities. Lucy Vu is in the room with the youngest children and sees the benefits from the program.
As an educator, we always dream about that one, and now it's come true. Because you know why? The sensory equipment, like a light, they support children develop a lot in many aspects.
Aboué Futwa says the sensory project has the potential to identify children with neurodivergent challenges at an early age and get them the help they need to succeed. Kevin Fleming, CTV News, Calgary.
A Calgary group held a powwow tonight celebrating Canadian Multiculturalism Day. Calgary Catholic Immigration Society partnered with several groups to share Indigenous ceremonies and storytelling. There are also traditional foods, dances, and performances from other cultural groups. The free event gives people a chance to connect and celebrate diversity.
We're the same. We're wanting the same things. We want, health for our kids. We want community. We want laughter. We want good food. And we find that happens here. And so we thought it's the perfect place to host this event.
The event was held at the Land of Dreams, an urban farm in southeast Calgary. Well, we could see another storm tomorrow, but we'll likely get some warmer weather in the days ahead. Danielle's up next with her forecast.
All right, temperatures in Calgary and much of southern Alberta today, right where we should be. And we're going to get warmer as we head through the next few days here. 23 was the high in Calgary, 24 in Edmonton, a little warmer in Saskatchewan, and then southern Ontario, southern Quebec, and in through Fredericton in those mid-20s. We had an active day, absolutely. Lots of thunderstorm activity basically east of the QE2, and there's the potential for this once again for tomorrow. So while this is dying down, it returns for another day. All right, so even in through these overnight hours, this is a look at 3:30 in the morning, up the QE2, east of the QE2, even potentially peeking into Calgary. Some shower activity is possible, even an isolated non-severe thunderstorm. But by 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, this starts to filter out. But Calgary and south, we're looking at a sunny, bright morning up until about 1 in the afternoon, as you can see by your timestamp here. Then the chance of thunderstorm and shower activity arrives once again. So it will be another busy afternoon, especially along the QE2 and east, and even along the Trans-Canada, as you can see here. We have things bubbling up once again by the supper hours tomorrow. But we get into more stable weather by Sunday. Here's a look at Sunday. As you could see, Sunday bright. Temperatures will start to climb because we're looking at a bit of a stretch of this stable, sunny weather. So just a high of 19 for tomorrow, which is a little cooler than today. Again, today's high is 23. And then we're looking at sunshine to kick off the day in Calgary. And then by the time we get into 1 in the afternoon, showers and thunderstorms are possible. More stable, though, for Sunday, Monday, and Canada Day Tuesday. So temperatures will be able to build 24 for Sunday and then mid-20s for Monday and Tuesday. It looks like Wednesday will be the hottest day of the next 5, but late day thunderstorms are possible by Wednesday again.
Thanks, Danielle. A Calgary athlete has just won a major title. She is the first person in Alberta to win a top prize at the World Ninja League, and she's only 9 years old. Calgary Flames had 2 picks in the first round of the NHL draft tonight, number 18 and number 32.
The Calgary Flames are very proud to select from the Victoria Royals, Cole Reshny.
Cole Reshny was the Flames' first pick, and later in the night, the Flames also chose Cullen Potter. The next round of the draft happens tomorrow, and while teams hope to stockpile talent, it's not necessarily the first-round picks that pay off for them. Sometimes it's the players who were never picked at all. Tyler Barrow has more.
It was one heck of a rookie year for Dustin Wolf, who has not forgotten where he was selected in the 2019 NHL draft.
Being a late draft pick, I couldn't have been much later, 4th from last.
21 goalies were taken ahead of him. According to TSN's director of scouting, Craig Button, the Flames knew then what they know now about their starting goalie. There's no way Wolf would have been stuck down in the 7th round.
Top half of the first round. Everybody's looking for a number 1 goaltender. You got to find them. They found them in the 7th round.
It's not just the late round picks making a difference. Colorado Avalanche forward Logan O'Connor went undrafted, barely speaking with NHL teams when he was draft eligible.
I remember I had one questionnaire come through from a team. I want to say my first or second year.
O'Connor, who grew up playing for the Calgary Royals, took his talents south for junior hockey before earning a scholarship at the University of Denver. In 2018, he signed as an undrafted free agent with the Avalanche. Now, he's a Stanley Cup champion.
Continue to work on my game, be the best person and player I could be at school, trying to round out my game in different ways, and then I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity with the Avalanche.
Button sees O'Connor as someone who kept banging at the door and a good example of the draft's imperfect process.
Not only do you have to look at those players and project them to where they'll be when they're 22 for the most part, but then how are they going to handle the challenges?
O'Connor and Wolf prove it's not always how you start, but where you finish.
For guys that don't get drafted or even get drafted late, it doesn't matter.
Never really looked too far ahead. The thing with the draft is at the end of the day, whether it's the Bantam draft, the NHL draft, my dad always says it's just an invite to camp.
Tyler Barrows, CTV News, Calgary.
We have a world champion ninja athlete here in Calgary, and she's just getting started. Glenn Campbell has her story.
9-year-old Riley Banadega flies through the air with the greatest of ease. And earlier this month, at the 2025 World Ninja League World Championship Finals in North Carolina, Banadega became a world champ in the kids' female division. Riley had to beat out 130 competitors for the world title.
It felt really good because last year I got second, but it was a different worlds. There's two, UNAA and WNL, and I went to UNAA last year, so.
It was her commanding performance in the upper body testing stage 3 course that set Riley apart from the rest of the field.
I tried to keep a fast pace and do a 20-second shakeout on each box, and I tried to take just under 10 seconds, and I tried to keep the pace, just try to go fast. And
Banadega is the first Alberta Ninja athlete to win a world championship at the World Ninja League Worlds. Her dad is proud of her and isn't surprised because ninja is her passion.
She sees it as her fun time. I think she enjoys all the challenges and the fact that the courses change, the obstacles in the gym at Fit Set change all the time. So it's one of those sports that just keeps her guessing, keeps her challenging herself, and I think that's what really appeals to her. She never sees it as work, it's always playtime.
While Riley was cool in competition, the same couldn't be said about her coach. He was nervous.
On all stages, but especially stage 3, she looked so calm and just collected, and I was shaking, sweating. I was like, okay, let's do it. She's like, yeah, let's go. She was way more calm than I was, that's for sure.
And it's that calm demeanor that will probably take Riley further in this sport. Eventually, she wants to turn pro.
I need to be older to be a pro, and I think I can do really well, but I'm really excited for next year.
Glenn Campbell, CTV Sports, Calgary.
Oh, she sure makes that look easy. Thanks for staying up late with us.